The program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to an absolutely stunning morning here in the African bushveld. The moon is setting, the sun is rising, and there are big cats about. This is Safari Live.
Good morning, or Avshen, as they say in the local language of Xitsonga. It is my privilege once again to welcome you on your, daily fix of Africa. My name is James Hendry. Now, we are coming to you live, of course, from the rolling green savannas and wonderful woodlands of southern Africa. Dawn has broken sort of crystal clear with a bit of burnt orange in the far eastern horizon, and it's about 75 degrees Fahrenheit. As usual, I'm going to be talking to you from my little tent over here, but that's not nearly as important as you. You need to be talking to us. Hashtag Safari Live is how you do that. That is the best way to get hold of us. And your first thing that you're going to do is to tell us what is your favorite Safari Live animal. That is hashtag Safari Live. What is your favorite Safari Live character? Whew, that was the TV opening, everybody. That's where the practice was going on there. A little bit rough, needs a bit of work, but that's okay. Okay, let's just sit down and tell you a little bit about the day so far. The day so far is pretty much as I've described it. I haven't found anything to show you yet in the tent, but we will do so over the course of the next 3 hours. We will, of course, also be joined by Thandi. She is going to be telling us a little bit more about the work she does in Zambia, around the South Luangwa lion conservation, give her impressions, hopefully, of some of the lions we have here. I'm hoping quite fervently that we will find one of them here today. So that's the idea, and yes, that is the plan. Now, David, if you come out here, I did spot actually some form of wildlife, which was good. There's no need for everybody to stare blankly at my face before it actually has anything interesting to say. Here, on this bush, just before we came live, arrived an elegant grasshopper. Do you see it, David? It is a young one. Not yet. They sort of look a bit like they've drunk when they're adults. Their abdomens flop about the place. They're unable to move properly. When they're little like this, they still hop quite well. And of course, the adults are but they're so incompetent at moving because they don't need to move much because they look so very disgusting to potential predators. And while they're quite astonishingly coloured to us, they are deeply distasteful to most predators that might try and eat them. Is she speaking? No, she isn't. I was just doing a bit of a comms check there, everyone. So at the moment, they're very good at jumping around and hopping, but eventually they will become very kind of floppy and unable to hop properly. I'm not describing this very well. Probably the opening that has sort of thrown me slightly. Let's go across to Taylor. I'll calm down, and when I see you next, we will have something else interesting to show you.
It's wonderful, of course, like I said in the pre-drive to be back with all of you again for quite some time. No more disappearing acts on my behalf. But my name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is the strapping young VM. There he is. Now, as you saw, if you were watching us with the pre-show, we had lion tracks, and I've got very good news for you. It's the entire pride. I'm quite excited. It's now a race against time, though, because those tracks have started to go a little bit further north. They've gone onto a big animal pathway. So what we're going to do is we're going to quickly loop up here. We're going to go onto Aubrey's. We're going to go onto Aubrey's, sandy patch. And we're going to just quickly check around here, and if there's nothing, and nothing crossing out on Buffelshoek, I'm going to come back and then jump onto that animal pathway as well. And hopefully we'll catch up with these lions, which is very exciting. Hope that they haven't decided to walk just straight across and back into Buffelshoek. It's not the biggest block that we've got just over there, so it's possible with the rate at which those lions move, they could have easily done that within an hour, if not even less than that. So we'll just pick up the pace a bit. And the reason why I'm going to pick up the pace is because this road is so sandy in front of us. and it's really quite lovely. And I don't need to drive too slowly. What do you think, VM? What is your mind thinking? Just double check. No, there's nothing going that way. You think they're in this block still? I hope so. And luckily there's no big drainage systems over here either, because if they crossed and gone towards that side, back towards the Djuma Research Centre, it's going to give us a bit of problems. You've seen it many a times, how dense it is there, but let's hope that that's not going to be the case this morning. I'm trying to think, the last time I saw the whole pride together was easily a month and a half ago. Easily. So, sure, it'll be quite exciting. I don't think I'll even recognize any of those youngsters anymore. We're going to carry on we're not walking in the vehicle, I'm obviously driving. We're going to carry on driving. We're going to quickly scan over here, and hopefully when you come back to us we're going to have some lions too. But it's light enough now for the man in charge, of course, that goes by the name of Stef. He's got his walking shoes on, his gaiters on to avoid those carrot seed. Let's go across and say good morning to him.
Yes, good morning. Thanks, Taylor. Wow. Yes, so there's some Impala. This is that herd of Impala that is on top of quarantine, coming to join the morning with us. And very good morning it is to you from myself, Stef and Xongile and Herbie. This morning a walk team out here on the bushwalk just for you, and looking forward to it. Lions everywhere, it would seem, or at least that's what it was at 2 o'clock this morning. I could feel the lion roaring literally through the mattress of my bed, and that is no mean feat because my mattress is quite a solid thing, and I have a fan blasting into my face and I could still hear the lion. So I think that there was a lion around this area around about 2 o'clock. It was 20 minutes past 2 to be precise. And they do walk a lot of kilometers at night time. I mean, lions here, especially those Birmingham boys that we got here, which is the dominant male coalition that we got in this area, they tend to walk quite far in the summertime, quite easily, just sort of walking straight across Djuma Private Game Reserve here. And so anyway, we're hold thumbs that we're going to go find these cats wherever they're lying up today. I don't think they're too far, just a gut feel I have. But have a look at the full moon. That is going to be setting at around about the same time as the sun comes up. It was full moon last night as far as I remember. So a moon rising, or it will be setting 40 minutes later than it did yesterday, and it would have been at sunrise. So full moon is the same day, sunrise, sunset, sunrise. That's the full moon, and then 40 minutes later every day at this particular latitude. And that's what we're having a look at over there. Isn't that just absolutely beautiful? Now, as you can see, those clouds that are just underneath the moon, they are moving from the north to the south. And for those of you who've been watching the show for a long time, well, at least for this season, you'd know that the predominant direction of clouds that we've had this season has been from the south to the north, and almost always wind that's blowing from the south to the north has started to bring moisture with it. Not a lot of rain this year, but definitely our rain. At the moment though, and quite excitingly, we've got a huge low pressure system, or a cyclone as we call it in this part of the world. I think you call it a low pressure system or a hurricane. We've got one developing in the Mozambican Channel, and now that's not too far away from here, and it means that there may be a chance that we get some heavy rains a little bit later on in the week, possibly over the weekend and into next week. They're predicting quite heavy rains for us, so hold thumbs for us down here. We don't need floods, but we do need a lot more rain. All right, why don't we go over to Brent, who's apparently got a surprise.
Weaver's Nest. Well, we've been tracking little Xongile this morning, and she's moved straight up this road from Twin Dams, and I think the possibility that those male lion tracks that went down the road towards Vuatela down Twin Dams is probably what caused her to move there. Now, I've got some very exciting news this morning. My name is Brent, and my cameraman's name is Brian. So, and his hard-working thumb, of course. So the killer bees are back. And what a killer way to start the morning with one of our favorite leopards. Remember, hashtag Safari Live if you've got any questions. Or you can pop us an email on questions@wildearth.tv. Now, no sign of Karula, but Hosana's tracks were around this area yesterday evening, so maybe she came looking for a bit of company. Okay, she looks like she's watching some hornbills, and they're quite high up in the tree. I was trying to see if Hosana is not sitting on the termite mound close by. Hello, special little one. Now, if some of you have missed some of the safaris during the week, I had the most incredible bushwalk with Xongile, where we spent nearly 2 hours with her on foot while she slept in an African ebony tree, and we were no more than about 15 feet from her, and she took no notice of us. She knew we were there, looked at us, and went back to sleep. It is definitely one of the highlights of the year so far for me. Hello, little one. Oh, time for a stretch. Looking a little bit hungry. Nothing too serious. Where's your mother? Or still off hunting? Now, she of course did have a meal yesterday. We found where she killed a scrub hare during the night. Well, a very good morning to you, Sherry. Sherry would like to know, are they morning or evening hunters? Well, both, Sherry. But they are also nocturnal hunters, so they do hunt throughout the night. But like all predators, they are opportunists. If something happens to catch their interest during the day, they are not going to say no to a nice, easy meal. Oh, she keeps looking up that direction. I wonder if that's where Hosana is. Oh, she's just having a look around here. As I said, his tracks were, well, not quite here, but a little bit further to the north, but heading in this direction. Okay. Okay, so while we get into a good spot for the little Princess Xongile, let's go see what beautiful view Taylor's got.
Something that I haven't actually seen in quite some time is, of course, the beautiful African sunrise, although the sunset's normally just as gorgeous, but isn't this spectacular as we look upon the horizon with all the beautiful trees and those lovely clouds too that the sun is about to disappear behind. Isn't that just a magnificent way to start the day? We're going to sit and listen just for a quick moment and see if we can hear what birds are awake. Isn't that lovely? Our normal culprits are out. I heard an emerald-spotted wood dove, a couple of turtle doves. It sounds like there's a tawny-flanked prunier zitting away in the distance. and a couple of others who have, well, hopefully we'll see some of them a little bit later today. But we're still hot on the hills, and very luckily we've got Rexon and Taxon's expert help to help us find these Nkuhumas. So we're going to keep searching. We didn't get lucky on Sandy Patch. We just had their tracks crossing east, and now we're on Aubrey's Road, and I think we might be getting closer. Well, I'm hoping that we're going to be getting closer. So what Taxon's gone and done, he's going to quickly just check the, let me just double check here. He's going to check the cut line, but also cut line, and then we're going to zigzag up and down these roads, and then Rexon is actually going to check Gallagher shortcut, check that pan to see if they haven't perhaps stopped over there for a little drink. But I'm keeping a close eye out over here, scanning around, of course, looking for the actual animals, and then also just hoping to see where their footprints are going to cross. This road isn't as sandy as, ooh, sorry, it's at a moment there was a spider on my leg and I touched it. That was wonderful. Okay. Ooh. Right, so it seems as though we're actually going to turn around here. Taxon's just said he's got tracks on Buffalo cut line going east. So I think we need to, I'm just trying to turn around, here we go. Yeah, we need to go back this way. I don't think there's any point now us going back towards Vuyatela access. Those tracks are sort of ahead of us now. So we're going to go racing on away very quickly, and like I said, those cats move exceptionally fast, so we need to see if we can keep up with them before they decide to cross north. We're going to go back over to the gorgeous princess Xongile, and then of course, well, not as gorgeous, but Brent.
Well, thank you for that compliment, Taylor. I definitely think Xongile is far better looking than either of the killer bees, especially as the light starts rising. I think we're going to get some fantastic light on her this morning. And she seems to be in a bit of a playful mood. She bounded up this little bent-over marula tree. I'm doing a bit of claw cleaning. Isn't that absolutely gorgeous? Now, Christine would like to know, has Xongile stashed any kills in trees yet? Not that I'm aware of. I've seen her move kills that Karula's made up onto fallen trees, but nothing too high yet. And I think a lot of the stuff she kills when Karula's not here is too small. So we found the site where she killed a scrub hare yesterday morning, but I think she would have eaten that on the ground and eaten it quickly. And we have seen her try hoist that dead water monitor. Oh, look at her cleaning her nails. Watching the hornbills fly by. Now, Lisa's wondering, do big cats sharpen their claws on anything like domestic cats? Well, not anything. The suitable trees. Oh, biting flies. She is so sweet. I just had that feeling this morning. Well, Xongile battles the biting flies. It seems like we've got a stunning sunrise from the air.
That wonderful, wonderful shot of the leopard there, lying in the sun. Here, another wonderful shot of Thandi, who is joining us in the tent again today. But before Thandi says too much, say good morning, Thandi.
Good morning, everyone.
There we are.
I'm glad to be here again.
Let us take to the air and see what the sunrise looks like from Drone Commander Connor Teagues' perspective. Good grief, is he actually flying? That is astounding. That is quite some flying he's doing there. What a pity it's frozen. No, there it goes. Oh, wow. How wonderful is that? I'm not sure how he achieved that without crashing the drone into a tree or something. It's not exactly the clearest area in the world. But there is the eastern horizon, blazing gold and orange. A bit of, what other colours can we see there? Honey, perhaps? But it is largely just straight concentrated gold. That's beautiful. He is actually still moving there. What a wonderful shot. Wonder how he's achieved it. I can't wait to ask him. I always think that it must be wonderful to be able to move at this sort of height, and higher, of course, because the silence must be so much more profound than it is anywhere else. So you can imagine how much thinking time and quiet time a vulture or an eagle has as the thermals start to warm and they start to soar up into the sky. Now, of course, that sun is not going to be creating any thermals just yet. It will probably take another, I'd say 45 minutes to an hour or so, and then the vultures and the eagles will start to take themselves up into the air. I'm just trying to look there in the far eastern horizon. I mean, it does look like rolling, undulating terrain, doesn't it? And that's what it is, of course, out here. Very little in the way of mountainous landscape in the actual Kruger Park, apart from the odd granite outcrop caused by sort of extrusions many millions of years ago. But because this landscape is so ancient, those rolling hills are very gently undulating, going down towards sort of shallow drainage lines like the Umglomati, some slightly bigger rivers like the Sabi River and the Sand River, but really they are not huge. And because this landscape is so very ancient, with so little volcanic activity in the last countless millions of years, it's not nutrient rich. It is a nutrient poor environment. There is one of those granite outcrops I was talking about, and that one, if I'm not mistaken, is Stwaiskopi on Mala Mala. And as we swing across to the right, we may well see the little ones, the little knolls on which Ulusaba is posted. There they are, just going past us there, and that's in the far sort of south-east western corners of the Sabi Sand. There's a settlement. That is amazing. That's Newington, probably. That may be actually one of the lodges. That might be Arathusa. That is amazing. I didn't realize we could see that far from the drone. And the mountains there still bathed in a little bit of smog. Not smog, in fact. It's just fog and mist from the night. How wonderful. So an ancient landscape, and what I was saying there was that the soil is not fertile. It has had so little volcanic activity in the recent past that it's actually one of the most nutrient-poor soil types, certainly that we get in South Africa, and possibly in all the world. If I'm not mistaken, it might be the oldest soil that we have out here in the world, and that means, of course, that it is very difficult to create any form of useful agriculture out here, and that's why, along with the tsetse fly, this place was designated a wildlife area. It was thought to be functionally useless from a commercial point of view. If only those initial sort of conservation thinkers had realized that it would now be the most valuable land in South Africa. This land that we're sitting on is now the most valuable land in South Africa, and that is purely because of conservation tourism. And that's a wonderful story, that really is, that through conservation this land is paying for itself again and again and again, and through doing that, of course, conserving all of the wildlife that we have out here. Now I have made my speech. Now, we have had a number of wonderful requests for animals, favourite Safari Live characters. Oh, I see we have a picture of Gendre at the rover. How dreadfully unpleasant. He's thankfully moved off. Would we like to see Gendre? Yes, there he is, everybody. There is Gendre. Let me see if I can run him over. See see if I can run him down like a mangy dog. No, he's walking too fast, and Ronald is now stuck on a piece of grass. There we go. There's Stef hitting biting flies off himself. I wonder if they know they're live. There we go. Xongile, of course, is the clown. Enough of that. Let's get on to the serious business of the show. Alrighty, Thandi. Now, people have asked very specifically for a number of animals today. Brian wanted to see this thing here.
Brian, that is the, oops, I'm breaking it. That is the honey badger skull that you wanted to see.
Do you think it's likely we'll see a honey badger today?
I don't know. Hopefully, it's always good to see honey badgers. So there's your skull.
Do you see many at home?
I wouldn't say many, but I've seen quite a few out near river systems.
Okay, good. Right, there we are. That is the honey badger. And then, what is this, Thandi? Have you any idea?
This is a huge male giraffe skull. It's enormous. You can tell by, the thickness of these horns. That's what gives you a distinction between males and females. The female horns would be much thinner than this because they don't need them for basically fighting.
Right. That's Mel's request. He wanted to see a giraffe. This is the request of Michael B. Owens.
This right here is a wild dog skull. You can see the nice sharp canines that they use to incapacitate their prey very quickly and very efficiently.
I really like that word, incapacitate. And this, the request of someone called Iodine. It's got a bit wet. I think enormous skull, and that is a zebra skull that you can see there. Nice space in between the teeth there. That is Mr. Zebra. We'll set him down here.
And the final request from Shell in Detroit. A
leopard skull.
Hyena.
Oh, hyena skull, thank you. Yeah, this has got a bit of wear and tear there.
Yes, a bit of trouble. Possibly attacked by a lion.
So, yeah.
Now, what are hyenas like in your area?
We have spotted hyenas mostly, and they scavenge. They're not like out west of the country that hunt on their own. But yeah, they're mostly scavengers, and they do bother the wild dogs quite a bit for scraps.
And I mean, I know out here there are a lot of traditional beliefs around hyenas and that sort of thing. Do they have the same sort of thing out where you are?
Yes, hyenas in Zambia are considered the witches or wizards' best friend, so they're not really well loved. But yeah, when a hyena is seen, it's immediately thought to be somebody who's just turned into a hyena, like a person.
Oh, you mean a shapeshifter?
Yeah.
Oh, dreadful. Let us go across to the shape-shifting form of Stefan van der Boer.
Isn't it the most wonderful thing to have Thandi with us, who can share with us her stories about Zambia and what she's interested in. She's just such a lovely woman. But we've managed to find some signs and tracks of the male lion that was roaring here last night and was keeping me awake at 2 o'clock this morning. This is the fresh track of an African male lion. And here it is here. This is his back foot here. And this is his front foot. Now, a male lion's front foot is much more indistinct than the back foot quite often. Here we have 1 toe, 2, 3, and 4, with the back of the pad ending here. And it's because their foot is so big. And usually what happens is it registers. So the back pad is usually on top of the front foot. In this particular case, the back pad extends far forward of the front foot, which tells us something about the speed that this lion was walking at. When this happens, the male lion is walking fast. So when there is a distinct gap between the back foot and the front foot, and the back foot is in front of the front foot, that means that he was walking faster than normal. Normal is when the back pad is on top of the front foot, and super slow is when the back pad is at the back of the front foot. In this particular case, it is you put your fingers into the toes. This is the back right foot. This is the front right foot of a fast walking male lion. Now when you have a look up and you look along the track, which is what you're supposed to do around about this time of the day. So we're going to take you down to lion level, which is probably about that level there. You'll be able to follow the tracks here. So here's one, here, here, there, there. So can you see them? There, there. And now they start to get indistinct. The substrate changes. And it's not too much of a problem. What you've got to remember to do is keep your head up when you're tracking a lion so that you can look along the tracks. And you'll see that there's definitely a path that this male lion was going to. We've got two options here. We've got straight to the water, which is where the rover is, or we've got down into the Mulwati drainage line. And there we've got another two choices. But that's how you track. It's very difficult to track footprint for footprint out here. You got to do this. I don't even know how. I can't remember what the actual term for it is, but it's intuitive tracking. You got to look up. You got to put your mindset into that of a lion. Brent is very good at doing this sort of thing, and you've got to decide. Okay, where is he most likely to go? Where am I most likely to find a track of this particular animal? In this particular case, it is down this game path. So there's a game path here that leads off the riverbank here, or right to the dam where we have Ronald the rover. Now, just judging from the speed that this male lion was walking, I very much doubt water was on his mind. Don't forget that Taylor had some lion tracks a little bit earlier coming in this direction, and we've got this male lion coming down here on an intercept path of these tracks. So Taylor, about 1.5 miles from here, had lion tracks walking in this direction. This male lion's walking in this direction, and Taylor was with a pride of lion. And I think that that's going to answer your question. I think Ryan just asked me the question. I just want to increase my volume there just to... Oh, Roger. So Roger, you asked the question, why would this male lion be walking fast? And if I were to hazard a guess, I would say it is because he wants to intercept these females. At this particular point, he knows he's getting close to them, and he wants to up the pace so that he can see what's happening in the pride. Not forgetting that these females are coming into and going out of estrus all the time, and males want to check on the pride members to make sure that they're in attendance if a female comes into estrus. He wants to be first around there, fight off all his brothers and claim mating rights there. I think at this particular point, it wouldn't be unfeasible to think that the Nkahuma pride with the male lion is lying somewhere here. That's what I'm hoping for here, in this northerly direction. All right, so his tracks are not going to be here, his tracks are going to be here. Now we've got to try and find where's the most likely place for me to basically confirm that. And it's not going to be anywhere here. It's going to be on the other side of this drainage line, or one of those game trails there. It's going to take us a bit of time to go and decipher the next little piece of this particular puzzle. And in the meantime, why don't we go and have a look at that beautiful leopard with Brent.
Little Xongile has been sneaking around, jumping through the grasses, and I'm hoping that Hosana is somewhere close by. Oh, do you hear that, Brian? There's impalas alarming to the east of us. Could be Karula. Sounds like it's still south of our boundary though. Well, it doesn't look like she was paying too much attention to those alarm calls. They were quite far away. Remember, hashtag Safari Live or questions at WildEarthTV if you would like to ask us about what's going on out here, or in particular about little Xongile. Let's get up ahead of her. morning, Trail X. Trail X is wondering, do I think she could be the heir to Karula's Djuma territory? Now, that is something we've discussed. I hope so. Now, as Karula's getting closer to 13 now, she's maybe got one more set of cubs in her after these two, depending on how long young Hosana decides to hang about with her. And if that's the case, I think there's a very good chance that little Xongile could be the queen in waiting. I keep checking for young Hosana around this area. I think she might be looking for someone to play with. Sorry, I'm just keeping quiet. I thought I heard alarm calls again in a different area. Oh, still far away though. Oh, this is quite a good area for her to sneak through like this, where you've got these fallen down knob thorns and things like that. She might get lucky with a scrub hair, or even a quarry thickets, I think, looking for a scrub hare. Or her brother. Now, I've just heard a report from south of us that they had audio of mating leopards, and it might be Karula and Tingana again. It is around, I'm trying to remember when the last time she mated with Tingana was, but it could very easily be the fact that she is mating with Tingana again. Look at her, she is so pretty. Where are you off to? Now, she's probably already about 1 kilometer from where we had her yesterday. She's definitely smelling something. Is it Hosana, or is she just hungry and looking for a snack? Well, we're not going to go anywhere. We're going to stick with her and see where she goes. She spotted something. She's suddenly frozen. Now, Sean is wondering, are leopards opportunistic hunters, or do they have preferences? Well, she's suddenly going into more of a stalk mode. I wonder if it's Hosana, or is it a Franklin, or possible prey species. I can't see anything. Brian, can you?
No, not yet.
We can't see anything yet, but her attention is definitely focused. Now, Sean, they are opportunistic hunters, as you asked. They are very much opportunistic, although depending on their body size, they do have preferences. So a small female like Karula and quite an old female like Karula prefers, oh, look at that, prefers smaller prey, Stenbock, duiker, baby Impala. is there? I wonder what is it? Could there be a poor little testicular in grave danger? Or an unsuspecting dwarf mongoose? Looks like she's almost getting ready to jump. Oh, she's after something. I think it was a mouse. A mouse or a gerbil, but it escaped. Wasn't that cool? Look how she just sort of bunched her muscles up and leapt. Okay, let's move around. Okay, let's just see where she's off to next. Where are you going, little Xongile? Did that gerbil get down the hole before you could get to him? It's a bit thick through there. Lisa's wondering, do leopards have den sites? They do, but only when the cubs are much, sorry Brian, I didn't see that thorn tree there, much younger. So when they're very little, the female leopards will stash them in a protected den area. Quite often it'll be in a cave, in a clay cave in a riverbed in this area, even in a termite mound, or if there are any rocky outcrops around. It's always a good spot to look for leopard dens. And in the northern Sabi Sands, both Karula and her daughter Shadow have used pipes under roads before, and Thandi, Karula's one of her other daughters, has actually used underneath the deck of one of the rooms at Chitwa. Okay, so while we try to get into a good spot to see her again, let's go back to the tent with James. And one of the luckiest visitors we've ever had Safari Live. I think I'm going to let Thandi tell you how many different leopards she's seen since she's been with us.
Right, we're sitting here, the sun bathing us now from the eastern horizon in gold, and soon it will be volcanically hot out here. Now we have a slow motion replay of that rather astonishing little Xongile action. Have a look at this. Ready, leaping like a serval into the air. That is fantastic. Now watch carefully. If you look carefully, just in front of her as she turns, you can see a little rodent bounding off towards the left there. So I think that was a tiny little rodent, roughly the size of this honey badger's skull. Marvellous. Thandi, did you enjoy that?
It was pretty cool, yeah.
I thought it was very impressive indeed. Now, Safari Dean, I'm just going to read your question, if that's all right. Mm-hmm. You say, what is the biggest pride of lions that Thandi has ever seen? Thandi, what is the biggest pride of lions you've ever seen?
The biggest pride of lions I've ever seen was 30 individuals. We unimaginatively called it the big pride. But yeah, so it was 8 adult females, 8 sub-adults, and various ages of cubs.
Marvellous. Mm-hmm. Christine Roquet, you wondering about the technology that's used in Thandi's research?
So for the education work, I use mostly camera traps. We set them with the students in different habitats, either inside the national park or outside along seasonal rivers or the perennial river to get an idea of the prey diversity and density in different places. And then we talk about what areas lions are more likely to visit. And yeah, it's pretty cool. The students love it.
And you do use collars, don't you, for some of your prides? In fact, for most of your prides.
Yeah, we do have a collared individual in every pride, and that allows us to locate these groups. So yeah, it's cool sometimes when we are able to find a pride for the kids to see.
Out here we have the Nkuhuma Pride, who we've failed dismally to introduce. Failed dismally to introduce you to. Sorry about that. We'll do our best as we go forward. They are sort of buffalo specialists. Quite latterly, actually, they've become buffalo specialists. And do the prides there tend to specialize, or does it very much depend on what there is to eat?
So there's specialists in different prides. We have one pride, for example, that hunts zebras in the day. We have two prides further north of the park that are buffalo specialists, like the Nkuhumas here. And we have part of a segment of the big pride that has a taste for saber-toothed hippos. So you see quite a variation of that, yeah.
I suppose the river must make a big difference to that. Obviously, your habitat variation is greater than here. But also, just to understand the size of the area that Thandi is operating in, what did you say it was?
So the whole park is 9,000 square kilometers. For people in the US, that's almost exactly the same size as Yellowstone National Park. But our intensive study area is roughly a third of that.
So 3,000 square kilometers, 300,000 hectares or so, about 700,000 acres. And how many prides are you looking at there?
Well, we follow intensively between 19 and 20 prides every year. That varies depending on who sticks in our intensive study area. And yeah, each one individual in that group has a radio collar for location purposes.
So that's an area. We, of course, see the Styx Pride here and the Nkuhuma Pride here. They're not always here because their territories extend north and to the south of us. That is an area that Thandi's working in that is 5 times not only the size of where we are, but the size of the Sabi Sand in its entirety. So she's operating on an area that is about 20 times the size that Safari Live is operating in, which means that her experience of different lions is immense. And I think that's great because you're obviously seeing a lot more variation in behavior than we are.
Yeah, a little bit more, definitely. It requires covering huge distance, and we're very lucky to have aerial support to locate some of these groups.
And how do you get around?
So the plane locates some of the more fringe prides, and then we drive to those locations and stay with the pride for like 3 days at a time, just keeping track of where they go, what they eat, and who they meet in their daily lives.
So you'll drive out there and you will set up a temporary camp? Stay in the car?
Yeah, the vehicles we live out of, we have Land Rovers like yours, but I think slightly bigger.
We pack quite a lot bigger. Yeah.
We pack everything in there, sleeping stuff, food. I sleep in the front seat. I can sleep across, and the game scout that I'm with all the time sleeps up on the roof of the car. And then, we have all our research gear in the back, and we just camp out and record any sort of, interaction, mating, hunting, and that sort of stuff.
That is serious dedication in a temperature often of around about 45 degrees Celsius. That, everybody, is about 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Frightening stuff. Let's head straight back across to Xongile and Brent Leo Smith, where the temperature is still a balmy 80 or so.
Well, she's bounding from tree to tree at the moment. Seems to be entertaining herself in the absence of a playmate. I was hoping she was going to climb up that almost vertical cluster leaf, but she got up onto that first little bend and then decided, no, that looks a bit too much like hard work. Okay, let's get a little bit closer. And she's going to jump down. It is so special to be able to spend the amount of time we do with these cats, and particularly at this age, they are just so full of joy. They seem to really like those bendy bush willows. Oh! Just leaping through the tree. Is that the best jungle gym out here? And they really seem to like these bush willows that have been manhandled a bit by elephants. Come on, grab that branch. You know you want to. Oh, she seems to have focused in on something again. Or I think she's just going to play. She's going to... Or maybe she has seen something. No, I think she's just playing again. Okay. Oh, there's a big stump. Oh, she's moving quite quickly now. Okay there, Brian. Moved now probably 1.5 kilometers from where we saw her last night. Sorry, Brian. There we go. She should be popping around that termite mound shortly. Jeff would like to know, do leopards always land on their feet? Jeff, I would like to say yes, but no. They sometimes land on their backs, on their heads, on their bums. So it all just depends. But I would say the majority of the time, yes, they do land on their feet. But there are always those circumstances when they don't. What you up to next, little monster? Now, all this play and jumping and leaping about is, of course, very important practice for our darling Xongile. This is going to stead her in good stead as she gets older. Oh, Brian, there's a kill happening. Can you get it? There we go. A bark spider has made a web inside my car, and it's busy eating a moth. So, oh, there you go, my arm was in the way. Look at that. Is he devouring the moth right next to me? Oh, shock and horror. Isn't that cool? Oh, Xongie's on the move. Where has she gone now? I think she could be looking for Hasana. Someone to play with. Okay, well, we're going to try and move through. It's a bit of a thick area here. So while we do that, let's go across to the man who's really good at finding spiders and scorpions, Stef.
Thank you very much. And we've managed to find a snakeskin, and not just any snakeskin, a massive example of one of Africa's most deadly snakes, and also one of the longest venomous snakes in the world. This is a puff adder. This is one of South Africa's snakes responsible for the most deaths per year, probably ranking second to the Mozambican spitting cobra in terms of biting people, and a massive example. Easily, I don't know, a foot long, 3 feet long. Now they only grow to about 1.5 feet or so. Excuse me, 4 to 5 feet or so, and this one is one that is very close to that. So very close to, I suppose, a North American rattlesnake, with the exception that it doesn't have the rattlesnake at the, or that doesn't have the rattle at the end of the tail. And also the diamondback rattlesnakes are a little bit bigger than our African puff adders. But nevertheless, just have a look at that. Now, I've spent the last 20 minutes or so actually turning the skin. It gets taken off in a sock when they change their skin, and I've been turning the skin the right way around so that you can actually see the patterns on the skin and the keeled scales, as they call it. That is a scale that is keeled, and it gives the puff adder quite a dull appearance. But just have a look at that head. Yo, I tell you, this is nightmare inducing. There the mouth would have been. Have a look at that. Now, Mary, you've asked me how old I think this snake is. Genre actually asked me the exact same question. Mary, to be honest with you, I don't actually know how long puff adders live for, and it would be very difficult for me to judge the age of this particular individual, because snakes are cold-blooded. They grow temperature and food dependent. So given a constant warm temperature, or a temperature that's in the snake's prime or optimal metabolic range, and given a never-ending series of food, a puff adder will grow indefinitely for its life cycle. I mean, why don't we have a look quickly and see if we can find out? One of you help us, if you don't mind, find out how old puff adders get. They're incredibly popular pets on the pet trade, and so there should be very overabundance of information about how long puff adders live for in captivity. I'd probably say anywhere up to about 25 years. This particular individual will probably be older than 15 years old, most definitely. This snake is still very much alive. This is just the skin that it shed because it's gotten even bigger. Can you imagine that? So it ran out of space in the skin. The skin itself is only elastic to a point, and then the snake has to generate a new skin. It will then pop off this old skin, and that is exactly what the snake has done. Go into hiding for a few days while the skin basically hardens and the scales harden, and then it'll be off to look for some new food. But just have a look at the camouflage that this snake would be able to. Now, KG, you've wanted to know, are there poisonous snakes that kill leopards? KG, this snake would be very capable of killing a leopard. Have a look at that. Now, that's how you generally find puff adders, coiled up on one another like this. And it's not impossible to imagine that this snake lying underneath a bush would be able to bite a leopard, especially one as playful as young Xongile is this morning. They've got to be very careful for this. Luckily, these types of snakes are reluctant to bite. They don't want to bite, and they get their name from the fact that they puff, they hiss, they blow air out of their lungs, makes a very distinctive noise, and the leopard I've seen leopard bounce away from a bush with a snake like this in it. So hopefully a young leopard like Xongile would be wary enough, just from a built-in genetic point of view, that they would absolutely react to a puff adder's giving a warning puff or a warning hiss, and would move away. But this snake, absolutely. This snake could easily kill me, could probably kill a full-grown male lion with a full envenomation. They have a cytotoxic venom, a virulent cytotoxic venom, which means that it's cell destroying, and bites from puff adders usually form these massive swellings. The skin splits open. You have to have skin grafts. I mean, there's more than enough information out there about people being bitten accidentally, and then also mainly, of course, people are bitten because they try and handle these snakes, which you should never really do. They have a fang that lies in the front of their mouth, so just under their eye, and it hinges. So at rest, the snake's fangs lie in their mouth, probably to about that distance. When the snake strikes, their fangs come out and hinge open, and they can strike into their prey. But now puff adders, a lot of people get bitten by puff adders because they pick a puff adder up like this, which is how you hold most snakes. You hold their head. Now a puff adder's fangs are long enough to go through the bottom jaw and poke you in the finger. So a puff adder can bite through its bottom jaw into your finger. And so the only real safe way of holding a puff adder is in a grip that holds it like this. You hold it on its jaw, basically like that. And that way, if the fangs come out the bottom of the jaw, you don't get poked in the finger. But this is a dangerous way to hold a puff adder. Have a look at how thick this body is. It's as thick as my arm. This snake is incredibly muscular. And what it'll do is it will from time to time jink and move and spasm its body to try and get out. And they're strong enough to actually rip their head out of your hand and strike you on the arm if you're not careful. So for me, and all my years of guiding out here, I've never picked up a puff adder. I also will not pick up a puff adder. Billy, you wanted to know if puff adders are so dangerous, do they make such popular pets? It's for precisely that reason, Billy. It's the same reason why people keep gaboon adders, which are even bigger than this, why people keep black mambas, why people keep green mambas. Friends of mine who are herpetologists and who are snake lovers, snake aficionados, they argue that snakes are easy to keep, they're lovely looking pets, it's a moving display in their rooms. Any number of reasons. I mean, I have my views on it. I'm not a big fan of the exotic pet trade, but to be honest with you, you know, I suppose to a degree they do a lot of good in helping us understand more about the species, at least. And puff adders, definitely one of those snakes that are very, very popular. Now, Jared has thankfully, and thank you, Jared, you've answered the question on how long puff adders live for. So puff adders live for 10 to 15 years in the wild, as Jared has found out, and up to 20-25 years in captivity. So this snake, this size in this area where we do have a coolish season where puff adders go from being nocturnal, which is what they are predominantly active in nighttime during our summertime, to predominantly diurnal or daytime during the wintertime. And it's in the wintertime that they don't find a lot to eat, but male puff adders will look for females and actively look for females to mate with them. And so we have puff adders mating with each other during the day in winter. At night time, puff adders they don't slither in an S-like motion. They basically move over the ground using these belly scales. The belly scale will come forward hook into the ground, and the snake's body would then slide over it. So belly scale forward, snake's body, belly scale forward, snake's body, belly scale forward, snake's body. So it's called rectilinear motion. The snake will be able to go through the bush very similar to this. And what it'll do is it using very sensitive tongue that comes out the front of the mouth and pits in the roof of the mouth, it'll taste where rodents move. Now rodents out here, rats, mice is the food of the puff adder. They're quite specific in the routes that they take through the bush. Puff adder will enjoy to taste. You'll see them tasting the ground where a rodent run is. And what the puff adder will then do is coil up underneath the bush like this on the rodent run and wait for the rodent to come down the path and then strike it. Very quick strike, one of the quickest striking snakes on the planet. Strike the rodent, does two things. The fangs are large enough actually to create a lot of internal bleeding. It would be the same as us getting stabbed by a javelin, I suppose, or a spear. Two of them. The venom goes into the rodent. It does three things in actual fact. One is it kills the rodent very quickly by dissolving the tissues of the rodent's body. Two is it allows the rodent to bleed out. And three, it actually lays a scent trail that the snake can follow. So even though this puff adder is massive and could hold on to a mouse, they strike at the mouse or strike at the rat and leave it so that the mouse and the rat doesn't bite the snake. The mouse would run away. It takes a couple of minutes for the venom to take effect and to disable the particular rodent, and then the snake will come along and sniff the blood and the venom trail, following that scent until it finds the prey, until it finds the mouse. It would then move, say now my hand was the mouse, it would move its mouth along the body of the mouse until it finds the head, and then head first it swallows the mouse, using its fangs to crawl up the mouse's body. So its fangs would come out and hook and hook and hook and hook like this, pulling the mouse whole into its body. And you can see that it could fit quite a substantial mouse into this body. Now Lois, you wanted to know if puff adders climb trees, and I'm going to tell you why that's a good question. Because keeled scales like that, so you can see the ridge line on that scale, increase the surface area of a particular scale, and keeled scales are usually a hallmark of tree climbing snakes. So snakes that are very good at climbing trees do have keeled scales. Now the vipers, which we don't get here, the tree vipers, iconic pictures of vipers in forests draped over branches looking very much like this. We get those pictures of the green tree viper and all the tropical vipers that hang over branches like this. They all have keeled scales. They're incredibly good climbers. But here in Africa, the puff adder has evolved not to climb into trees. So puff adders and rattlesnakes do not climb trees, and a couple of other adders as well, because they're just simply too big and too fat. This snake will easily weigh 10 pounds. That's how heavy this snake could have been. Maybe not as much as that, maybe around about 8 pounds. But you can imagine this snake, when it's full, would easily be as thick and as long as my arm is. Probably longer than my arm. No, as thick as my arm. So I don't know how much my arm weighs, but I don't have a particularly small arm, and this is probably easily 3 or 4 kilograms worth of snake. So Amy has asked that we keep the snake skin for the tent. I absolutely will do that, Amy. I'm actually going to wrap it up and keep it nice and safe now. So how you keep a snake skin is you wrap it up just in itself, and we're going to put it in a safe place where it doesn't rub too much in my backpack, and we're going to take it through to James in the tent who can discuss it in a lot more detail. So absolutely, this is going to go into our museum collection, one roll of snakeskin. Lovely. All right, and on that note, I hope you enjoyed the puff adder chat, and we're going to send you over to Taylor.
I must say I'm envious that you got to find a puff adder skin. Puff adder is actually one of my favorite snakes, along with the brown house snake, so I'm hoping that we're going to stumble across a couple that have their skin still intact. And I've actually got interesting updates for you. I haven't chatted to you for a while now. So unfortunately the Nguhuma's crossed into Bubble's Hook shortly after our last chat, and then Taxon and Rex managed to find them, and they're not too far from the cut line. They're about 200 meters or so, but they've gone flat now. They've decided to have a bit of a siesta, so maybe if we're lucky they'll come crawling across, which will be wonderful. Then them and I saw a male leopard very, very quickly, but far away down on the cut line, but he sort of turned around and looked at us and then started galloping off at, well, quite a pace. So VM said he thinks that it could have been Djuma. He says he's a very skittish male. Like I said, we were far off when he decided to leave us in his dust, and we couldn't find him again. Then you ready for the third and fourth one? And then apparently there was a lion herd calling quite close to the hyena den off Cheetah cut line. And then Mike had said he was actually with the hyena, and she went gallivanting off when she'd heard this roar. So we're actually just checking around here. We're not sure if it was a male or a female lion that was calling, but it does sound like there were only 4 Nguhuma lionesses. So maybe it's one of the missing ones, maybe it's a male. Not too sure just yet, but we're just searching around at the moment. We're having a bit of a quiet one, AVM. Hang on, I can hear who's shouting? I just heard, sounded like some crested francolins sort of shouting just off into the distance. They still sound a bit angry. Let's head up a bit closer. Now there's a drainage system just down here, so it could be something moving through the drainage line. Let's go have a quick look. But I haven't even seen an impala yet. It's unusual. Let's check very carefully through here. So it's interesting this morning. Lots and lots of cats, but ones that just don't want to be seen. Please be something wonderful. But I suppose that's one of those things, isn't it, where you do drive around and you see little glimpses and you see all the signs of the animal, but today is just obviously not our lucky day. No. It's a bit difficult. We don't really have a clear view, unfortunately, of this drainage system, but we do have turtle doves just in front of us. Hello, you two. Now, this will most likely be a male and a female. And we'll let them settle down again. And we'll see if we can maybe see which one is the male. Typically, he'll be the one that sort of puffs himself up and shows off quite a bit for the female. No, don't run away. But now's actually a good example. You see how they're walking from one side to the other side of the road, never in a straight line. And just casually feeding as they go along. But now you can very easily see why those tracks meander around when you are just left with their footprints. No. Oh no, coming back again. But lovely birds. They're very, very common around the whole of South Africa. And I think it's a bird that we don't often spend too much time with. And I think it was about a month ago, I actually found a turtle dove nest, which was really beautiful and was actually out in the open. And then the last time that I went to Cheetah Plains, I went to have a look to see if it was still there. But unfortunately, it seemed as though something had raided the nest, and I wasn't actually surprised by that. And like I said, the nest was sort of in a little bit of a large fruited bush willow, but it wasn't covered, so I reckon anything could have gotten in there. Monkeys would have seen that nest. It sort of stood out quite easily, which was a pity. Here we go. They found a couple of grass seeds, and I'm sure that that's what they're feeding on. Now, Button's cockatoo, you said that they look like indigo doves, And apparently you get them back in the States. And that's really nice. And you'll find that the longer you start to watch, is that you'll start to find similarities in the birds that we have here versus the birds that you have at home wherever you may be. There's always one or two that look fairly similar, and if they don't look fairly similar, sometimes they exhibit the same behavior. But I'm glad that these two have now settled down. Perhaps the male has already gone through the process, the hard process of courting this female, and maybe they are quite relaxed with each other and there's no need to put on a show anymore. But it's one of my favorite sort of displays is to watch a turtle dove, a beautiful male, puff himself up and bob his head up and down every now and then. I always find it to be quite comical. And they are such graceful flyers as well. I love the way that they sail, and especially when they come down to land, I think they land the most gently out of all the birds. Everyone else sort of comes in very quickly. There we go. Well, they seem to be disappearing off into the long grass, and you know when you head into the long grass, well, there's not much to see, but we're going to keep searching for this all this mysterious lion. We'll probably pop past the hyena then. We're going to go to James in the tent now, who seems to have something, well, that swims around.
Indeed, something that swims around, similar colour to the dove, totally different sort of class of animal, an amphibian. Well, not quite an amphibian yet. It will be soon, though. You can see little legs that have come out on my tadpole. And he's too big now to put under the microscope. And I'll share a little secret with you. This probably isn't the same one that we had last week. We did have one that already had front legs as well, but it dropped dead for some reason, which was a bit worrying. But everyone else has done very well this week. And this little chap, you can see, has got wonderful little back legs coming out the back of him. And as Kirsten says, he looks happy. Well, he does. He's got lots to eat. And so he's in a little sort of plastic viewing, what would we call it, tank, if you like. A little small tank. He's going to grow out of this one fairly soon as well. So we might only be able to use him for 1 week. But it's just a bit easier than trying to look at him through the microscope. Ah, very nice. Louise has come up with a very nice acronym for what it is. It is called the TOT, the Tadpole Observation Tank. Very good. Thank you, Louise. Yes, indeed, the Tadpole Observation Tank. He's a wonderful chap. And I don't know what kind of tadpole he is. This is a different kind from the very first ones we found. So time will tell. All right, let's put him back in here. Now, while I'm going to sort out a few more little things to show you in this little tank of water. This is not his main tank, by the way. They live in a much bigger tank. We have about 12 tadpoles at the moment. Very nice question coming through from Chris Pullen about some of the lions of Zambia in the South Luangwa, the Mwamba and the Hollywood prides. And Chris, you wanted to know if Thandi knew those two prides. You do, don't you?
Yeah, Chris, we do study the two Mwamba prides, the Mwamba Kaingos and the Mwamba Kapandas. I'm sure you know those, and the Hollywood pride as well. They're some of our biggest prides in our study area, and so we love them very much.
And how would Chris have come to know them?
Maybe, Chris, did you visit the Luangwa at some point, or you saw them in footage somewhere?
Have they been used? You say they've been used in documentaries before.
Yeah, the Hollywood pride in particular. I think it was part of either a Nat.Geo or a Discovery Channel documentary years ago. But yeah, it's kept its name. The Mwambas are pretty cool, actually. They're sister prides to the big pride that we have in the more central area of South Luangwa.
Now, one of the debates that I certainly had with myself when I started here was naming of animals, because I was taught that you never did that because you make animals, you take away their wildness. And even when I started and had to use all the names of the animals here, I felt like it wasn't necessarily a good idea. What do you think of it? And then I'll tell you what I think now, because I've done a 180-degree turn.
Yeah. I think as a scientist, you're not supposed to name these animals because, science is about being objective and all that. So, even now, it's like a tug of war within myself, I can say, for example, a lot of our lions just have ID numbers. So since we work in Eastern Zambia, we keep it Eastern Lion, so it's ELI. Then 247, for instance. But, it's impossible not to give, individual names to species. And we have, names like ginger and garlic and, that sort of thing. But yeah, I don't know what you think about
Well, I
that.
mean, what was forcefully brought home to me when somebody pointed out was Cecil the lion. And Cecil the lion, of course, who was tragically, well, shall we say, murdered in Zimbabwe must have been about 18 months ago.
2015, yeah.
Yeah, just about 18 months ago. And this lion became an internet sensation. People who had never heard of lions before were suddenly interested in the barbaric nature that he met his end. And if he hadn't had a name, if he had been named EZ, Eastern Zimbabwe 248,
Yeah.
EZ248 would never have made it onto Facebook, would never have made it onto Twitter, would never have made it onto Instagram and all the social media sites that then took lion conservation as a whole to the mainstream, which I thought was fantastic. And so now I'm completely the other way around, and I think we should be naming absolutely everything we can.
I don't know. I think we'll slowly move towards that way, but at least we need ambassadors, for these species. And around here, you have Vutomi, who's making it out on his own. It's nice to have individuals like that that can sort of speak for all these other ones that
Ambassadors,
we
I like
don't
that.
see.
Ambassador species, yeah.
Yeah,
That's a
and
really,
ambassador individuals too. Yeah.
that's a really good way of putting it. Good stuff. Okay, excellent. Now, let me just go back into my pond, and I'm going to show you once more the water strider. There he is. He did a pathetic performance on TV last week. You see, that's what we wanted him to do yesterday, at least last week, Monday. And see, look, swimming. Not just lying there like a gormless imbecile, which is what you did last week. And so you will never make if I try and show this again on TV, I'll probably be fired. Anyway, in case if you missed it, this chap is remarkable. Most remarkably, perhaps, the little air bubble you can see in his abdomen there, and that's how he's breathing. He comes to the surface, picks up a little bubble, and puts it underneath his abdomen there, and that's how he breathes. Cool, that's very cool. Then there's another thing in here quickly. It is a bloodworm, which, from what I can tell, has probably been eaten by... did the strider eat my bloodworm? I think the strider ate the bloodworm. Anyway, he's a voracious predator. Anyway, there's something else there. No, I don't know what that is. It's the larva of some sort of creature. There it is. Some kind of midge, or may even be a mosquito larva. I don't think it's a mosquito larva, is it? I hope it's not. If it is, it's going to die. And it's living in the water here with all the tadpoles, with the water strider. So hopefully the water strider will eat that. If it is a mosquito larva, I don't think it is, though. I'll check up on that. But the bloodworm has disappeared. I mean, Kirsten says there are two. There are hundreds in here. Isn't that cool? I wish the bloodworm would come back. I think it's definitely been eaten. Bloodworm is a... let me just put my hand in here. The bloodworm is the larva of a non-biting midge in this area, and of course a bloodworm can be any number of things completely unrelated to each other. Oh, there goes Tadpole. Okay, let's come back here. So that was marvellous. Great stuff. Right, let's talk more, or let us think more about the naming of animals. And while we do that, we'll think about the name Xongile and what it means to us, leopard conservation in general, and indeed the connection that we have to the wilderness.
Well, there we go. Xongile has found a lovely termite area to rest up upon. And she's got nice shade. Her eyes are completely closed, napping away. Isn't that wonderful? Oh, she's got a big tick between her ears. Now you'll hear another vehicle. We're not the only car enjoying Xongile at the moment. Isn't she absolutely gorgeous?